There comes a moment on your sacred journey, a moment so raw, so bone deep, that it feels like your very soul is exhaling in exhaustion. Have you felt it? That threshold where every part of you knows you've given everything. You've pushed, pulled, fixed, forced, poured every drop of your energy into becoming, achieving, proving. And yet, you're still here, just tired. But not tired in the way sleep can fix. This is a spiritual fatigue, the kind that aches in places no rest can reach. It's not because you're lazy, me love, you fought harder than most. It's not because you've given up, your spirit is far too stubborn for that. No, this exhaustion is sacred. It is the body's way of whispering what the soul has known all along. You've been carrying a universe on your shoulders, believing that sheer willpower could remake reality. You've been showing up, checking every box, controlling every variable, hoping that maybe one more push will be the breakthrough. But instead, it feels like wading through molasses while the world flies past. And then, from somewhere deep within your heart, a quiet, revolutionary truth begins to stir. Maybe I'm not meant to try this hard. Maybe the answer is in the letting go. If these words are vibrating in your bones, if your soul feels seen in this very moment, no, this isn't a coincidence. Your frequency called this message in. This is your divine confirmation, a sacred reminder that your exhaustion is not weakness, it is wisdom. The wisdom that comes when your spirit has had enough of trying to win a rigged game. The world, the low vibrational matrix we were born in, tousled us a single story. That effort is the only currency that buys success. We were programmed to believe that if something isn't working, the answer is always more hustle, more sacrifice, more control, less rest. We've been trained to wear burnout like a badge of honor, to clench our jaws, tighten our fists, and keep pushing no matter how drained we feel. But no one told us the other half of the truth, the sacred pause, the divine inhale, the magic that happens when we finally stop. No one told you that trust deep, soul-rooted trust is a frequency, a power greater than force, greater than effort, and that the answers you seek, the dreams you crave, aren't earned through exhaustion, they are allowed through alignment. Because when you stop forcing, when you take that courageous leap into trust, something extraordinary begins to unfold. It's as if the universe, long waiting for you to soften, finally breathes with you. The people you once chased now find their way to your door. The opportunities you strained and strategized for start arriving, not because you hunted them down, but because your energy finally became a beacon. The solutions you obsessed over, the clarity you tried to construct with an overworked mind, they start to fall into place, gently, effortlessly, like leaves landing on still water. And you begin to feel lighter, as if 1,000 invisible burdens have quietly slipped off your back. You're no longer dragging your life behind you like a heavy chain, you're being carried by it. That's because the universe doesn't respond to your ego's brute force, it responds to the harmony of your alignment. And trust, true, deep, cellular trust is the master key to that alignment. It is the act of finally remembering that you are not here to conduct the entire symphony of life alone, you are here to dance within it. This is the truth they never taught us. You don't get what you force, you get what you are in alignment with. Force is the language of lack, of desperation, of separation. It broadcasts, I don't have this yet, I must chase it, conquer it, control it. But trust is the frequency of already having. It's the vibration of peace, of knowing that what is meant for you is already en route, encoded in your energy long before it touches your hands. Trust isn't passive, hope it is active, embodied certainty. It is the deep breath that says, I don't have to grip this life so tightly to feel safe. And when you breathe that deep, when you loosen your grasp, you remember, you were never meant to carry the weight of the cosmos. You are the cosmos expressing, expanding, evolving. And the more you surrender to that divine truth, the more life flows through you with grace, ease, and yes, finally with peace. I know how difficult this is. I feel the resistance in your heart as you read these words, because trust, in a world that has taught you to fight for your survival, can feel like the greatest risk of all. When all you have ever known is the crushing pressure to perform, to prove, to achieve, letting go can feel like an act of profound weakness. When you have built your entire life, your very identity, around the pillar of relentless effort, the idea of surrender can feel like you are dismantling the very foundation of your existence. It feels like you are willingly stepping off a cliff into an unknown abyss, Your mind, conditioned for survival, will scream at you with 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea. It will parade a litany of your past failures, of every time you were let down, of every moment your vulnerability was met with pain. It will tell you that the world is a dangerous place and that the only one you can rely on is your own white-knuckled grip on control. But here is the truth, the sacred paradox that no one ever tells you. Trust does not make you passive. It does not make you weak. Trust makes you unspeakably powerful. Because when you stop wasting your precious, divine life force energy on trying to control the uncontrollable, the opinions of others, the timing of events, the flow of the universe, you finally have an abundance of that energy for what you can influence. Your own inner state, your own vibration, your own choices. And here's the part that most people never realize, the secret that lies just beyond the veil of fear. Trying too hard is almost always a sign that you do not truly trust yourself. Let that sink in. Your relentless effort, your overthinking, your constant planning is often a symptom of a deep-seated disbelief in your own inner wisdom. You don't trust your intuition, that sacred, silent compass within you that always knows the way. You don't trust your own divine timing, believing instead in the artificial, frantic timelines imposed by the outside world. You don't trust that what is truly meant for you will recognize you, that it will find you without you having to constantly prove your worth, without you having to perform an audition for your own destiny. And so, because this foundational self-trust is absent, you overcompensate, you overdo, you overthink until your mind becomes a chaotic storm of anxieties. You over-explain yourself to people who haven't even asked, seeking external validation for a sense of worth that can only be found within. You show up even when your body, mind, and spirit are screaming for rest, because you are terrified of what might happen if you stop. You keep trying and trying and trying because the fear in your chest, the ghost of past wounds, constantly whispers a lie. If I stop, if I rest, if I let go for even a moment, everything will fall apart. But it won't. I promise you, it won't. In fact, the opposite is true. Sometimes, when you finally, courageously, stop trying so hard, that is the precise moment when everything starts to magically click into place. Why? Because you are no longer operating from a place of fear. You are no longer acting from a place of desperation. You are no longer trying to convince life, to beg the universe, to grant you what you desire. When you let go, you are no longer coming from that frantic, grasping energy. You are coming from calm, you are coming from presence, you are coming from a state of pure, unshakable alignment. And alignment, my dear soul, doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it doesn't chase. Alignment is a state of being so powerful, so resonant, that it naturally and effortlessly attracts. Like a finely tuned instrument, your serene energy sends out a clear, beautiful frequency into the cosmos, and the universe, in its infinite wisdom, simply has to respond by bringing you experiences, people, and circumstances that are a perfect match to that beautiful frequency. Trust means letting things breathe. It means allowing for the sacred pause between the notes of your life's symphony. It means embracing the silence without feeling an urgent, anxious need to fill it with noise, with action, with distraction. It means not panicking when there is a lull in your progress, understanding that this is not a sign of stagnation, but a necessary period of integration and recalibration. Because you must understand that the most important, most precious things in ethereal, soul-deep love, unshakable inner peace, authentic spiritual growth, they do not and cannot show up through pressure. They are delicate and sacred. They cannot be forced. They grow in the stillness. They bloom in the quiet confidence of your being. They show up when you stop chasing and start listening, truly listening to the whispers of your own heart. And here's something else that most people miss in their frantic pursuit. The more you try to control everything, the more you are energetically confirming to the universe that you believe you are not in control. It's a paradox. Your desperate need for control is a testament to your feeling of powerlessness. That is why the path of force always feels so heavy. That is why the results it brings never truly last. Because the energy behind it is fear, and fear will always have you gripping tightly onto things that were never even meant for you in the first place, things that are out of alignment with your higher self. But trust allows. It doesn't rush, it doesn't panic, it listens. It lets go of the tight grip, the rigid timelines, the constant mental spinning and analysis. It settles into the body and it says, with a quiet, powerful knowing, if it is meant for me, it is already on its way. My only work is to become the person who is ready to receive it. That is not blind hope, that is profound wisdom. Because when you have lived enough life, when you have forced enough doors that led to nowhere, when you have chased enough people who couldn't see your value, you learn a fundamental truth. You learn that trust isn't weakness, it is a choice. It is a strong, quiet, courageous choice to stop leaking your divine energy into the black hole of fear and to start investing it into the fertile soil of peace. And that peace doesn't just feel good, it is a creative force. It opens doors you didn't even know existed. Because now, instead of trying to control life, you have become the kind of person life wants to meet halfway. You have become a partner in a sacred dance with the divine. Let's be brutally honest. Trust feels unnatural when your entire life has been a lesson in survival. If you grew up feeling that love was conditional, that it had to be earned through performance and perfection, then of course, trust will feel alien. If you learned early on that success only came through pressure and burnout, then of course, letting go will feel terrifying. If you have always felt that life rewards those who suffer the most, who sacrifice the most, then the idea of ease and flow will feel both unfamiliar and undeserved. And letting go, that will feel downright dangerous. But here is the divine truth that no one ever tells you, the truth that can set you free. You were not born to suffer your way into alignment. You were not meant to live with your jaw clenched and your chest tight, calling it discipline. There is a way to move forward without self-abandonment. There is a way to build, to grow, to heal, and to evolve without losing the essence of who you are in the process. And that is what trust gives you. It gives you yourself back. It gives you your energy back, your breath back, your clarity back. Because instead of trying to be 10 steps ahead of everyone and everything, you finally land here, in this moment, in your body, in your peace. You are not calculating outcomes, running endless mental simulations, or begging the universe for reassurance anymore. You are grounded, you are rooted, you are open. And from that sacred, open place, you make better decisions. You attract the right people, not because you chase them, but because they felt the unshakable stability in your soul. You stop rushing, not because you've given up, but because you finally understand the profound difference between force and flow. Trust doesn't mean you sit around and wait for life to happen to you. It means you stop sabotaging yourself when nothing is happening yet. It means you stop jumping in and trying to fix things just because you feel uncomfortable with the stillness. Because now you understand, uncomfortable does not mean unsafe. Silent does not mean stagnant. Slow does not mean wrong. The more you trust, the more you see that life has its own divine, intelligent rhythm. It is not punishing you, it is preparing you. And sometimes, the only reason you are not moving forward is because you are still clinging desperately to a version of life, a set of old beliefs and expectations that you were never meant to carry. And once you let that go, once you stop forcing yourself to be somewhere you are not yet energetically ready for, the path opens. Not because you pushed your way through, but because you finally stopped blocking it with your own resistance and fear. That is the shift. The sacred, life-altering shift from control to trust, from burnout to balance, from proving your worth to simply remembering it. There is something incredibly powerful that happens when you stop needing everything to happen right now. When you no longer rush healing or love or the unfolding of your purpose, you become still enough to notice what is already working, to feel the gratitude for what is already present. You become aware of how much precious energy you are wasting by constantly checking for progress every 5 minutes, constantly measuring, constantly comparing, constantly wondering if you are falling behind. But falling behind according to what, exactly? Some imaginary timeline that was never yours to begin with? Some invisible societal clock that keeps you up at night but does nothing to serve your peace or your soul's expansion? You see, when you trust, really trust, you stop reacting to every delay as if it's a sign of failure. You start seeing delays as divine direction. You start seeing endings as sacred redirections. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, with genuine curiosity and openness, what is this making space for in my life? This is the mindset shift that changes everything. This is where the frantic trying stops and the authentic becoming begins. Because here is something most people don't understand until it's too late. You can get the thing you are chasing and still lose yourself completely in the process. You can force the relationship, you can force the career, you can force the success, But if you are disconnected, anxious, burnt out, and spiritually numb when you finally arrive at your destination, then what was the point? That is why trust matters so profoundly. It's not just about getting the outcome, it's about preserving your wholeness, your peace, and your spirit along the way. Force builds a life that is brittle and will eventually break down. Trust builds a life that is resilient, flexible, and sustainable. When you move from a place of trust, you stop compromising your values just to get ahead. You stop silencing your intuition just to fit in. You stop chasing people simply because you are afraid of being alone. You start honoring your own inner pace. You start listening when your body says rest. You start walking away from what no longer feels alive. And in doing so, you begin to attract a completely different reality, one built on truth, not pressure, on soul, not performance, on peace, not urgency. And when that divine shift happens, people around you notice. Not because you announced you were healing, not because you are trying to be seen, but because you have stopped fighting life. And now, life is flowing through you, not just happening around you. One of the most misunderstood truths about trust is that people mistake it for doing nothing. They think trusting means sitting around, passively hoping that life will magically change. But that isn't trust. That's waiting. That's passivity. Real trust is active. It is a quiet confidence, not a lazy hope. It is waking up every single day and showing up for yourself and your life, not because you are afraid of what will happen if you don't, but because you know, on a soul level, that something beautiful is aligning, even if you can't see the full picture yet. When you trust, your actions come from a place of peace, not panic. You are no longer trying to fill every single gap with noise or frantic motion. You are no longer forcing things into place just so you can stop feeling the discomfort of the unknown. You start to let the discomfort exist, to let the uncertainty be there without rushing to escape it. And that, dear one, is powerful because it is in the space of discomfort that the real truth rises. Just think about it. How many bad decisions have come from the fear of waiting too long? How many wrong relationships did you stay in because you didn't trust that something better, something more aligned, would show up? How many times did you say yes when every cell in your body was screaming no, simply because you didn't trust that your no would be respected, or that you could handle the outcome of honoring yourself? Trust changes that. It rewires your entire way of being. It teaches you to take a sacred pause before you react. It helps you to step back when you are tempted to prove yourself. It reminds you that your value isn't in how fast you move, but in how fully you align. You stop rushing into conversations just to fix your image. You stop jumping into commitments just to feel less alone. You stop trying to earn things that are meant to be freely given, and instead, you begin to wait for the right things. Not just the fast things, not just the convenient things, but the real, soul-filling, peace-anchoring things that don't require you to shrink, to force, or to perform. That is the kind of life that trust builds, a life where every no becomes a form of divine protection, every delay becomes sacred preparation, and every silence becomes a hallowed space for something real and true to grow. You stop measuring your progress in numbers, timelines, or social validation, and you start measuring it in peace, in how little you have to chase, in how deeply you can breathe, in how soft you have become without ever losing your strength. That is the difference. Trust doesn't make your life easier, it makes it clearer, and clarity will always take you further than control ever could. And here is what might surprise you the most. When you truly begin to trust, you paradoxically begin to care less about the specific outcome and more about your alignment with the outcome. You don't just ask, will I get it? You start to ask, does this even match the version of me I am becoming? That shift, that one question, changes everything. Because when you are no longer trying to force results just to feel safe, you finally have the inner space to listen to yourself, to question your wants, to ask whether that thing you've been chasing so relentlessly even fits your life anymore, or if it's just an old survival pattern you never thought to question. Trust opens up the space for discernment. Without it, you will keep rushing towards things that don't actually serve you, all because you are afraid of slowing down. But when you trust, you can slow down. And in that slowness, you see with a clarity that was impossible before. You start to feel what is true instead of just reacting to what is urgent. You stop reacting to fear and start responding from wisdom. It is in that space that you stop settling, not because you are trying to prove your worth, but because you finally, truly believe in it. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who don't even listen. You stop chasing opportunities that drain you. You stop performing for love, validation, or attention because now your actions are not a desperate attempt to get something. They are a pure expression of what you already know you carry within. That is what makes trust so magnetic. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is not constantly posting, proving, or announcing. It just is. Quiet, steady, grounded. And from that place, life begins to meet you differently. You start getting better offers, not just in business or work, but in how people treat you. You start having deeper conversations, not because you pushed for them, but because people feel safe in your presence. You start attracting situations that nourish your nervous system instead of overwhelming it. Because when you stop trying to outrun your fear and start walking with your truth, the entire world shifts. Not instantly, not without challenges, but with more ease, more clarity, and more divine flow than you have ever experienced when you were trying to force it all into place. You realize you don't need to chase the life you want, you just need to match its frequency. And that matching happens in your energy, in your mindset, in your patience, in your over-efforting, not in your burnout, not in your constant doing. Trust does not mean waiting forever. It means no longer rushing into what isn't real. So, if you are still carrying the heavy belief that trying harder will finally bring you peace, I invite you now, with all the love in my heart, to let it go. Trying has its place, but trust is what carries you when effort alone starts to wear you down. It is what steadies you when nothing makes sense. It is what reminds you that what is truly meant for you will never, ever need to be forced into your life. Because no matter how much the world celebrates the hustle, the speed, and the urgency, the most meaningful things in life tend to arrive quietly. They don't need you to chase them. They need you to make space for them, and that space is created by trust. Start trusting your timing, start trusting the silence, start trusting the process, even when it is uncomfortable, especially then. Because the moment you stop pushing for it all to happen now is often the very same moment everything starts aligning faster than you ever expected. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped getting in the way. And if this message has spoken to the depths of your soul, if it has helped you feel something soften inside, take a sacred second to like this video. Subscribe if you want more moments like this, calm reminders that you are not behind and you have absolutely nothing to prove. And if you have made it to the very end of this transmission, let me know by dropping the word trust in the comments below. That one word tells me that you are no longer forcing, you are finally allowing. And that, my friend, changes everything.